How could you not love eating these animals from the ocean? Welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. This is Life of Amazonia from Korean publisher Bad Comics. But today we're not going to talk about Life of Amazonia. We're going to talk about Shallow Sea, the new exciting game coming out on Kickstarter. Now in this video I'm going to teach you how to play, what my concerns are, and what I already love about this game. But first, if you like Cardboard East and you want to see Cardboard East grow to be all it can be, please consider joining our Patreon, where we give out monthly games every month. And now, on to the show! Welcome to the world under the ocean. In the ocean. You're in the ocean. You're in the... Welcome to the Great Barrier Reef. Now everyone's going to get their own little player board here, but before we talk about this, we got to talk about the 3 seashells. 1, 2, 3. This is a coral bag. In this bag, you'll have all the coral tiles. You simply just toss all the tiles in this bag, and you're good to go. This is the fish bag. In this bag, you'll see all these different types of fish. In fact, there are 4 kinds of fish. And in a 1, 2, 3, 4-player game, you're going to have 9, 14, 19, 24 fish of each type. So that means that you'll have to take out a few fish depending on the player count. And once you do that, put all the fish in this bag, and then you're good to go. This is the sea life bag. And in this bag, you'll have lots of different types of sea life tiles. Now, there are 80 tiles in the game, 20 different kinds of sea life. That means there are 4 of each kind. Now, each game, you're going to only use 10 types, so that's half the tiles in here. Now, in the rulebook, there are suggested setups for you to use, just like there are in Dominion, depending on what you want to use. So maybe use the whale shark, maybe use the beluga, jellyfish, or the whale, or the squid, or whatever is there. But once it's there, and once you organize everything in this bag, you're good to go. Now, once you have the coral bag set up, the fish bag set up, and the sea life bag set up, you're going to arrange them on the center of the table, and then randomly take out 5 of each bag. Each player will get a player board, and they'll also get 5 seashells. You'll take 2 and place the first 2 right on the board right here, leaving the other 3 right above these little symbols. You'll also take 1 orange and blue ecosystem card, and then put them off to the side of the table within sight of all players. So this is your first time. They recommend X1 and Y1. Then you're going to take a random sea creature from the sea tile bag, and then place them anywhere you want on the board. Now, you can rotate this any single way. I wouldn't recommend something like this. I would recommend maybe something like that. That looks promising. Now here's the player board. This should be at the center of the table, but I just put it here so that way it's in view. On your turn, you're going to take any pair of adjacent fish and tile. So this is a pair, this is a pair, that's 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 a pair. You'll have 10 choices. Choose 1. So let's say, for example, I will choose these 2. Well, now I'm going to place them on my board. Now I could place this any way I want. I could rotate this any which way I would see fit. It doesn't matter. But it must be placed next to a tile that already exists. So this is okay, this is okay, that is a no-no, and that is also a no-no. Let's just leave it right here. Now I take this fish, and I can add this fish to any bubble that you see here. But again, this bubble that I place the fish to must be adjacent to whatever I'm building. So I'm going to go ahead and put this fish over here to start with. The market will be randomly filled, and then play will continue. So on your next turn, you're always drafting a pair and then placing them on your board. Now, if you look closer at this, the goal of what you're doing is you're trying to get this to flip. Now, if you notice, there's green, green, and yellow, and that means that if you have a green, green, and yellow fish on those adjacent bubbles, well then this will get to flip over. You flip this over, and then one of these 3 fish will be able to move into this coral. If there were a fish here, you cannot move this fish into the coral because it must be one of the fish that was used to flip this coral over. So let's say I'll just move in the green fish here. Anytime you flip over a tile, be it coral or sea life, you will also gain 1 seashell. What are seashells? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Anytime during your turn, you could take 2 seashells and remove them off your board, and then that'll allow you to move 1 fish anywhere you want. But again, that fish must be adjacent to one of these bubbles in your little ecosystem. So maybe we'll just move this fish over here. Now we talked about coral and flipping that over, getting fish and getting seashells. Let's talk about sea life and how you get that to flip. Now, if you look closely at this tile, you'll notice that there are these symbols here. And this means fish, 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 but not the same. Meaning that the fish that are located in these 3 locations for those coral places must all be different fish. Now you can see that this has a green fish, purple fish, and yellow fish. Now, even though these are both green coral, it doesn't matter because this is only interested in fish. Once this has been settled, this will be flipped over, and you could turn it this way so it's right side up. And once again, anytime you flip over a tile, be it coral or sea life, you'll gain another shell. Shells are incredibly important as they let you move fish around your board, but they also have another important feature, and that is you could use your shell and spend it, and then you can completely wipe any of these 3 rows. You could do all the corals, all the fish, or all the sea life. You'll simply just take all these animals, flush them out, leave them outside the bag, and then randomly drop 5 more fish or tiles, whichever you chose. And then you'll choose to pick. Or, in fact, you could even spend your seashell and pick an unadjacent pair. So maybe you want this yellow fish, but you also want this coral. That'll be okay with the power of the shell. Now, play will continue like this until there are 4 empty spaces here, meaning that you have 17 turns to finish everything that you've done. Then you'll move on to scoring. And they give you this nice little score pad here to remind you of everything that you have to do. And then we'll go through these one by one. So first you'll score the orange card here. And then you'll see that you get 2 points for every fish and coral that are the exact same. So this is 2 points. So you see that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 points for this orange card. Then you'll score the blue one. You see this is 3 points for every completed sea creature on the inside of your area. And you can see here that I have 1, 2, 3, and therefore that's 9 points for this blue card. Then you'll get 1 point for every fish on a bubble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 points. Then you'll score 2 points for every sea life creature that is complete on your board. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 unique. 4 times 2 is 8. Then you'll notice this board here, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and that's because you'll add up the sum of your points on each of the 5 rows on your player board. Now, if you notice here on these, you'll see that this is 2 points unflipped, and this tells you that it is 8 points flipped, and indeed, when you flip it, you'll see that it's worth 8 points. So here you can see that's 2 plus 2 is 4. This is 8, 5, 7, and 2. And you'll add up each row, and then whoever has the most cumulative points wins Shallow Sea. Disclaimer. Everything you see here, again, is a prototype. In fact, even on the back of the box, it says prototype. So please take my comments on everything with a grain of salt, because I don't really know if this is going to look like this. The final product may look a little bit different than this, but I'm just going to give you what my thoughts are as I'm currently seeing the landscape, underwaterscape. You know, concerns. Now, I do have several concerns for this game. Number one, it's not Bubba proof. Who's Bubba? Well, Bubba's the idiot at your gaming group. Bubba could, on every single turn, take a fish and a sea life creature and never take up a coral. You could just play really, really badly, and that would kind of mess up the game. Now, I know that if you just don't want Bubbas in your groups, but the game itself allows for that kind of play, where I don't even have to get any coral. I just get a wildlife, a sea life creature every single turn. And that makes me eat up all of them. So in every game, there's about, what, 40 that are supposed to be in there? And then if I take all 17 of my turns getting those, well then, that's like 1/4, almost 1/4, a fifth of all the sea life that is supposed to be there. I mean, granted, Bubba's going to lose, but Bubba also ruins the game. So is that a fault of Bubba? Is that a fault of the game? I don't know, but it's something that I should mention, and that concerns me. Concern number 2, all the fish, except for those here, are in here. Nice, lots of space. Now, this is all the sea life. You're going to be using half of this. So again, a good amount of space, still a good amount of space. This is all the coral tiles, except for the few that are down here below, and there isn't enough space in here. Now, it may look like there's enough space, but I don't believe that there's enough to shuffle, and it feels kind of tight, like I'm baking bread inside. And I would like a slightly bigger coral pouch. Concern number 3 are the orange and blue ecosystem cards. Now, there's 4 and 4, and that's enough to kind of get started, but not enough for longevity. Like, I want more. There should be at least 12 and 12 here. Really. Concern 4 are the seashells. Now, there's nothing wrong with these seashells. They're absolutely fine. But compared to the rest of this stellar production, like the wooden meeples look great, the wooden fish look great, the tiles are nice and thick, the player boards, nice and thick. These thin cardboard seashells are functional, but it doesn't fit the production of the game. Now, you can make these like super nice wooden meeples. That would totally be fine. But really, you want some nice like resin, like shell pieces that kind of feel like shells. That looks like a conch on your table. That's what we all want. Concern 5, there are 20 different kinds of sea life in this bag. And nowhere in the rulebook does it say their names. Instead, it labels them A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4, D6, E2, C3. It's incredibly boring. And I just find that really frustrating. Imagine Wingspan without any of the names of the birds, and instead you just have a barcode on the top of the card. Kind of boring. And I think that if it's a game that celebrates the Great Barrier Reef, then you should have the names of the animals, if not on the tiles, then at least in the rulebook. Concern number 6, score pad. Now, in the score pad, you'll see that you'll be scoring all the fish. And all the fish that you have are worth 1 point. And then you'll be counting your sea life, and all your sea life is 2 points, or the varied different kinds of sea life, unique sea life. But 1 and 2 don't appear on the score pad, so it's easy to forget, especially if you put the game down for like a week or 2 and then come back to it. Why not just include those numbers on the score pad, like a 1 and a 2? Because so far from what I've seen, it doesn't change. So I feel like that's a missed opportunity to make everyone's life a lot easier. Concern number 6, fish. Concerning fish. Now, these are all the fish tokens, and there are like 24 times 4 in there, so that's what, 96, I believe? 96 fish tokens in this bag. Now, every time I play a different player count, I'm supposed to take 5 of each in here. So in a 1, 2, 3, 4 player game, it's like 9, 14, 19, and 24. And it's frustrating to have to open the bag and go through this time and time and again. And I understand that you want that balance for a solo game, but for a 2, 3, 4 player game, I have to ask, is it worth it? Is it worth all that trouble just for some fish? Especially considering how light this game is. Now, this is going to lead into my 8th and final concern, and that's this, the sea life tiles. Now, there are 80 tiles in here, 20 kinds for each, 20 unique sea life tiles. And they're all labeled very boringly, A1, A2, A3, A4, yada, yada, yada. But during setup, you're supposed to take half of them, half of these tiles, and then put them and mix them into this bag. Now, the problem is that there's no storage in this box. So you will kind of be forced to have lots of solutions for this. If you had like a nice little Dominion style box where all the tiles fit in, for like A4 goes here, A3 goes here, A2 goes here, boom, 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 boom. Setup is super fast, lightning quick. Or maybe you have a Plano box, so that way you could store it vertically without having any problems of things flying about. And then you'll still have to get a Plano box for this. Or maybe you use 20 different tiny bags and label them all. And then you'll have to take them all out, put them in here, and then when the game's over, separate it all out and put it back in together. Now that takes up a lot of time. Now I play this at all 4 player counts, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've even done it in the way it's supposed to be done, and completely random. I played with all the fish, and I played with all of these, and I have to think to myself, oh, not all of these, all the sea life. And now I have to think to myself, is it worth that hassle? Without a storage solution for these tiles, it takes up a lot of time, almost as much time as it takes to play the game, which begs the question, is it really worth it? I could just have these bags out here, play with everything, rando, and setup is literally like 30 seconds. Or I can make a deck and do that. Now, there are in the rulebook suggested sets, and it goes to go to whatever page. And you go to that page, and it's a work in progress. So I can't really report to what those suggested sets are, but I assume it's similar to Dominion. I have these sets here, and these all gel together and makes a uniform feeling where everything's a little bit more balanced and plays off each other. And from what I could see on the columns, there's like certain difficulties there. You'll have to use certain ecosystem cards to make everything even more uniform and like kind of play off of each other. There's a minimum score. There's an objective that you have to do in order to consider to be eligible to win. There's a lot there, but I don't see any of it. And because I don't see any of it, it makes me question, well, is it really worth it? Is it really worth all that setup? They did have some objectives in the rulebook, and I did play through some of those, and those definitely changed how I played the game, which makes me really curious as to what those suggested sets are and how much more they can alter the gameplay. Love bomb! What I love about this game is, well, a lot of things. First of all, the quality of the production, the quality of the bags, the quality of the tiles, the quality of the little fishies. It's all beautiful. And this is another stellar production from Bad Comic Games. Now, Life of Amazonia, I really, really loved. And it is heavier than this. And it goes deep into spatial puzzles and bag building. This is a nice, chill, tile-laying game, but it still has a stellar production, and that makes me really happy and always curious what Bad Comic does. Love Bomb 2, Shall See, is a fast, thinky, and approachable game. I think on the BGG it says 30 to 45 minutes, and I would say that's completely correct. I've played this solo once I knew what I was doing, like in 20 minutes. It's lightning fast, and with a multiplayer, maybe it's about 30, 45 minutes, depending on how AP people get. Love Bomb 3, why do all the fish love being in the aquarium? Endorphins. Please don't leave, stay. Now I get a lot of endorphins when I play this game because I'll flip over a tile, get a seashell, spend 2 seashells, move a fish over here, flip this tile, get another seashell, spend 2 seashells, flip this over here, do this, do that, do this, that, boom, 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 and it's really gratifying to have those triggers all and flip like a third of your board all in one turn. Like that's ultra gratifying and a lot of fun. Now, when I teach the game, maybe I'm a bad teacher, but not everyone is into spatial puzzles, and I see some people struggling to do that, and I've seen some people who are just like me, like, oh, boom, 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 boom. They get it, and I get it, and I love that feeling of the game. I like games that make me feel clever, and this one hits everything just right. The use of the seashells is so clever that you can use them for wiping, you could use them for a moving fish, and it adds all this flexibility that it just makes the game just super, super smooth. Love Bomb number 4, it ends early. And I know that sounds a little strange, like, don't you want a big epic game? Well, no, not all the time. And for a game like this, it's only 17 turns. That's it. You don't even get to fill up your board. And before, every single time I've taught the game, someone will eventually ask me, how does the game end? Oh, well, you have like 5 more turns left. Like, wait, what? And so it adds this nice little pressure of how you're going to expand, and you want to be tight, but not too tight, and you need to give yourself a little bit of movability, and it's a lot of fun to have that tight puzzle there. 17 turns is quite a bit in terms of games, but it's a little tight, And that's exactly, I think, where it should be. Love Bond 5 is the solo game. I really enjoyed the solo game. Solo game introduces the lionfish. Now, in the lionfish, essentially you just take a fish, add it to here, and then that's the same as doing a seashell action. Now, you can add more fish here, getting more seashell actions, and then more fish after the first two, you'll lose points. And they say this by a throwaway line in the rulebook that lionfish are skilled ambush predators. And as much as I like the solo game, and I definitely feel that not doing it random, being very concise and being tight with a solo game is definitely the way to play, I kind of feel sad that it's just the lionfish. I wanted more animals. And this goes back to what I said earlier, where I want all the names of all the animals and all the fish in this game to be somewhere in the rulebook. And I kind of want more of these solo cards. Like, this is the lionfish. Well, what about another fish? What about another fish? What about an octopus? What about a coral plant? Like, can't there just be more of them? Like, that would make this even more fun. Like, I think that's an obvious choice for development. Don't you? And Love Bomb number 6, and perhaps the final one, is, well, the system. Now, I did say that this was my biggest complaint and the biggest concern, but this is also my biggest love. Because you can play Azul as many times as you want, but you'll always be playing Azul. It's always the same. This is a game that could potentially change, that every time you play, you're playing with a different setup. You're playing with different extra rules. And if they had these suggested scenarios in that rulebook and they had more of them, then you could have an endless combination, just like Dominion, where you're printing out new animals. You could easily develop, I don't know, like 20, 30, 40 more sea animals on different types of coral, different types of fish. The fish could have abilities. The different sea animals could have abilities. Maybe a sea animal gets a fish on it. Maybe a sea animal moves once it's complete. There are a lot of things that you can do, and I'm really looking forward to the promise of that development. Because if that happens, that means that every time I play Shallow Sea, it's going to be different. That it'll be a new challenge, a new twist with that core base mechanics. And that, to me, makes it very exciting. Once again, my name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. If you like learning more about board games from Asia, follow for more. I'm going to put a link up here to a video that I think you'll enjoy. See you there.